questions. All right, Chief, you're just gonna look at me. You're gonna tell me your first and last name, and I guess your final position as a chief of police.
This is fun. My first name is Eric, E-R-I-C. My last name is Echevarria, E-C-H-E-V-A-R-R-I-A. And I'm still your chief of police.
So, obviously it came out that you are retiring today.
Mm-hmm. Well, not today.
Or
I'm that I'm retiring came out today, but I'll be retired as of May 15th.
yes.
Yes.
What factors weighed most heavily in your decision to retire next month?
Family. I mean, that is legitimately, here's the truth. I'm not going to do another 4 years. My son's going into high school. It's interesting when people, there's always been speculation of me leaving. Day one, my first year here, he's not making it past a year. Year two, he's going here and here. There's been so many rumors that I'm leaving to different agencies or organizations. Year three, the same thing. Year four arrived, and I think they finally said, he might be here for a little bit longer. But it's been in front of everybody's face this whole time. My son will be entering high school. I legitimately am not going to do another 4 years, and I'm not going to start my son in school and then have to pull him out in between. That would be unfair to him and my family, and my family has been here the whole way with me since 1999 that I've been doing policing, and obviously my son wasn't around in 1999, but this is all he's known, and it's time. It's time to, we did a great job last year. We reduced crime to significant lower rates, and it's just the right timing personally and professionally. And the biggest factor, quite frankly, is my family.
And how did you feel like in that moment when you decided?
Well, I've been deciding this since last year. You guys are just hearing of it now. And so this wasn't a decision that was made yesterday or a month ago. Last year, I started these conversations, and towards the end of last year, I told my boss, hey, I'm probably going to be retiring right around this time next year. I want to give you a heads up so you can start thinking about what you want to do and how you want to proceed. And then as we came into the new year, last year, I had a good friend of mine who, I started this in 1999. Had a friend of mine who was currently still working, who passed away from a stroke, healthy. Some of my peers that we started together started having conversations about, wow, I mean, life is short, especially in our field and the stress levels that we have, and why are we still doing this as a person, when we think about the personal and professional sides of it. And some of my friends began retiring as well, and one of them just retired last Friday. That was my roommate at the academy, and as we thought about this, I felt good, but it wasn't real till Friday for me. It's never real until you put that letter in and you say, here it is, here's my final date, and I'm ready to pass the baton on. So I still haven't been able to soak it in. I mean, everybody wants to talk to me today, so maybe tonight when I'm laying in my bed looking at the ceiling, I can think about it a little bit more, but maybe after the 15 is will it kick in, because that's the moment where I no longer have a second phone. I no longer have 300, 400 emails a day coming in, and the weight of this office is no longer on my shoulders, but really onto, and I'm happy to say Brad Dixon, but I'll smile and say it's Brad Dixon, and keep doing some shoulder presses because it gets heavy.
Right, and you were speaking about, speculation about, about you as a police officer. You became chief around 2021. As there always is speculation regarding, you, maybe your personal life and whether certain issues would impact your ability to do your job, has any of this impacted your decision to step down?
There's nothing personal in my life that would be of concern to me or anybody else. my life is my life, and what I do professionally, I do professionally.
And what accomplishments are you most proud of during your time leading the Peoria Police Department?
I think there's several. When I look at, I came into a police department where all our detectives were on flip phones. Something I always remember. And I said, wow, what are we doing here? All the technology in our police department is so far more advanced than it was when I started. Our recruitment strategies and the diversity, I think I had 100 and, if I remember correctly, it was 189 officers at the time. Well, we're at around 233 now. We've been able to make sure our recruitment is up. But I think if I'm going to really just pick one overarching, I think it's the relationship we have with the community. I hear many stories prior to my arrival. And I wasn't here, and I don't want this to sound like I don't know what happened. I could only hear stories. Whether there was protests in and around the police department, people protesting with photos of our officers and talking bad about our officers, and just a bad relationship amongst the community and the police department. In 5 years, in almost 5 years I've been here, we've not had one single protest around this police department. We've had numerous situations, right, that potentially that could have occurred. But we've been able to get out in front, be transparent. I think the transparency that we've shown, even by all accounts when I speak to the media, and we talk about accessibility to the office of the chief and how much information we've been able to put out. I think we've done a phenomenal job of doing that and balanced that very well. I think there's been a mutual respect, and I appreciate that. When I've said, no, I can't talk about that right now, I think you guys have understood that. And yes, have we talked about it later? Absolutely. But I think that transparency and that ability to create a great relationship, a mutual respect relationship between the community and the police department, I'm very thankful for that. More than I think I could express to this community.
And what would you say about maybe regarding your time as chief was transparency to the media?
Tell me what you mean by that.
Transparency with speaking, you always spoke about, speaking with the media, but, possibly if the media has contacted you about things, have asked you about what has gone on, what do you say about,
I think we've been very transparent with the media. I think there's times that we have to hold some information for sake of an investigation, but I think for the most part, I think there's been quite a bit of communication, probably more than the media's ever had here.
Right. And what are some biggest challenges you face, and how did you handle them during your time as chief?
Recruitment is obviously a major challenge. Crime obviously is always going to be a major challenge. Even relationships internally to the police department. I'm the outside guy. Nobody knew. And coming in that everybody is watching, whether it's the community that's watching, whether it's your team that's watching, and really just being able to have the ability to communicate with them and try to build that trust. Again, understanding and knowing that as a chief, you're the tip of the spear, and 100% everybody's not going to like the decisions you make, but really always trying to measure everyone with the same ruler and stay consistent.
And how do you think the department has changed since you've been chief since 2021?
I think there's a lot of differences. I mean, if you point that camera out that window right now, I remember talking earlier today, I had a meeting in here, and I was looking out the window. I'm like, man, our fleet looks so good right now. When I'm talking about the fleet of vehicles, we have these new pickups for our vehicles are marked. Little things that maybe the public hasn't noticed or doesn't know. Our supervisor vehicles weren't marked supervisor. I look out there and I look at it and I said, man, that looks good. Those vehicles look great. Everything is consistent. Our branding, if you look back to prior to my arrival. And look at our social media. Look at how we branded. Look at all that. Everything is, there's some consistency to everything. Recruitment. Look at the diversity that you see. And that wasn't just by recruitment. I mean, there's some changes that you do to policy. One of the major changes in the policies was hair. You know, if you look in most typical police departments or prior to a certain time in policing, everybody's in high and tights, clean shave, no long hair. But now you can see a difference, right? People that look like the people we protect, people that look like the people we work for, our community, within the rank and file of a police department. The technology, I mean, we have come leaps and bounds in technology, from the cameras to our uniforms to the vest to changing what our SWAT team look like in a green uniform, a military-ish look, to they look like police officers in a blue uniform, still being able to do the job, slowing down tactics, and training those things, and de-escalation in our SWAT team, and social services unit within a police department, and the equipment that comes with that. I could go on. There's a list of just different things, whether it's internally or externally, that you can see that are just things I'm very proud of.
Yeah, and as far as encryption of police radios gone, has it increased officer safety, or has it achieved the goals that you had in mind when you started?
Yeah, I absolutely believe it's achieved the goals. When you have, surprised that question is being asked by you guys. Yeah, I think it has, and I think there's a balance, right? Every media outlet has access to it. It's only encrypted to the public, but the media has access to it. So you're still able to share information that needs to be shared, and in real time, the public just has a delay.
And what are your top priorities as you prepare to step down or retire?
Right now, I'm just going to be, again, this wasn't, to you guys, this is a sudden, okay, he's retiring. But there's been conversations internally with my team, my command staff, as I begin to transition over and let Brad Dixon start stepping in and making decisions on things that need to happen. And really, that's what it is. There's not a whole lot that I need to do with current Assistant Chief Dixon. He knows the job. He's been alongside me the whole way. Very confident in his ability and what he's going to do. I'm very proud of him. And it's just really, I'm here to consult him where he needs it. I'm here to make sure the transition is smooth, and make sure that he has everything that the chief would need to be dealing with, he can now deal with. And one example I give as I plan to retire, and there's other people who are going to be retiring here soon as well, there's going to be positions that come open. The chief normally says, okay, where am I going to put this new sergeant, and what position am I going to put this person at? We have graduation coming up. We have a Juneteenth parade coming. There's things that I'm part of, and those meetings that I'm part of, and I'm making decisions, and I'm pushing staffing to. It's now for him, because they're going to affect this department in the city past my date here. So those opportunities to maybe put somebody in a position, he needs to really have those discussions with those supervisors or those officers, because they're going to affect this department in the city well after I'm gone.
Right, and under your leadership, you said there's been crime reductions. Is there anything that you're working with the future chief to head on, to steer right away?
Yeah, absolutely. So here, as I'm leaving, if you will, one of the things that I've always pushed on is really making sure our downtown, big thing for downtown is, I think our downtown is safe, right? But there's a perception that it's not at times. And so one of the big things is really having a stronger presence in and around our downtown. And so we're in the process here. I'm not sure where we're at with if the funds that we were looking for are here in yet. to buy a couple more UTVs that are year-round that we can put into our downtown. The UTVs are like the not trucks, but just those all-terrain vehicles that you see and that we use in festivals and things, and have our bike, a more robust bike officer program. And that's what we've been really talking about, getting them downtown. We just had a meeting with all our downtown bar owners and businesses to just make sure we're prepared as we go into the summer, and what that looks like, and what that looks like with our bike officers and our unit for special assignment, our task force group, to really be more present, be more visible, and be seen, and just kind of that officer-friendly presence around the many events that happen in our downtown.
And what does ethical policing look like in practice, and how did you enforce that standard?
I think it's just measuring everybody with the same ruler. There's a lot of things that happen. Policing is policing people, right? And there are things that are going to happen internally. There are things that are going to happen externally within our police department and outside of the police department. And it's really just understanding that if we continue to, when we see things, we deal with it, measuring everyone with the same ruler, we stay consistent. And I think that consistency is what's important, especially for this position as chief.
And were there moments when you had to make unpopular decisions for the sake of integrity?
There's always unpopular decisions, whether it's in the community or whether it's inside a police department. I think any CEO of any company, just doesn't apply to policing, I think anywhere. Anytime you're in charge, whether you're in charge at the lowest level, at the highest level, there's going to be moments that, right, you may make a decision about an officer. That officer may be a very popular officer that everybody likes, and people may not like the decision you made. There may be things that happen outside a community, and the community doesn't see it the way the police saw it, and the decision is made, then again, it's not popular. And I think it's just, we stood on the truth, we push out the truth, and we just had to go on what we had, and that's it. We're transparent, and we share what we had. And I think at the end of the day, there's always, I mean, that's a very hard part of this job. There's always going to be decisions that people are going to question and not agree with.
And what do you see the biggest challenge facing the department moving forward once you retire?
That's a good question. I don't know. I think policing has changed. Policing has changed from when I started to now. I think the technology that's coming and the changes in technology, I think changes in law. If we don't get a grasp on this old juvenile justice system and fix that, we're going to continue to see problems in how we deal with juveniles, and we're going to continue to see this revolving door of crime, if you will. And so I think it's that we've had a great relationship with everybody outside of here, our state's attorney, our sheriff's office, and everybody. And I think we all have that same fear, and we understand. And I think that's what needs to be tackled head on as this agency, not just here for us, but for the state of Illinois moves forward, or we're going to continue to see some of the same issues.
And what opportunities exist to continue to improve, public safety?
Say that question again.
What opportunities exist to continue improving public safety in Peoria?
I don't know if I understand your question.
Like what opportunities continue, I guess, to improve, for the department that can help safety throughout the city? Improvement?
No, I know what improvement means, but nothing's changing. Nothing's changing.
Do you see that there could be improvement?
There's always we can't stop improving. I've told Brad, and I tell the command staff this here, and I said, you got to take everything we've done up to this point and find the way to push it better, make it better. continue to think out of the box, continue to network and work with the community, continue to be transparent, continue to do all these things, but find a way to do it better. You know, I'm going to be watching from afar. I'm going to be watching and paying attention and rooting for Peoria. Peoria has a special place in my heart. Peoria has been phenomenal to me. The people have really embraced me like I was one of their own, and so I'm very appreciative of that. And so I'm rooting for Peoria, and what I hope is that whoever's here and continues to be here well past me, well past the next person, well, continues to take everything we've done and just continue to build on it. But you know, that's really for the next person to look at and say, how do they see it, and how are they going to navigate to the future challenges?
And what advice did you give the new chief as he transitions?
That advice is between me and him. That advice, I'm going to keep that one close to the heart, because I'll say one thing: don't compromise who he is. Be you, be who you are. He is a homegrown person here in Peoria, homegrown in Peoria. I believe he went to Richwoods, because he's always very proud of Richwoods High School. Be you. Don't compromise that. Be your authentic self. Do not try to be anybody else, and lead with your heart. And don't always make a quick decision on things, and sometimes you have to sleep on certain decisions. But some of the other things, I'll keep between him and I.
And how has this role changed you personally since, you know, living here in Peoria since being the chief? Since
Have you seen my hair? Have you seen my hair? That's how it's changed. Personally, I used to have a little bit more black hair. So now it's a little bit grayer. I think I put on a little bit of years in this role. It's a very heavy weight to carry. However, it's been very gratifying. It's been, like I said earlier, my biggest surprise to me is, you can only imagine coming from a city. First of all, I didn't know much about Peoria prior to coming to here. And then coming here, understanding and learning some of the nuances of Peoria. But then to really look at how Peoria has embraced me and my family, it's touching. And honestly, I couldn't be more grateful to Peoria for the love they show me. And so, yeah, I mean, Peoria has challenged me. The police department has challenged me. It's helped me grow. Honestly, it's helped me be a little bit more patient. I've had to learn to sometimes not say something when I really want to say something. So there's a lot of learned lessons, if you will.
And what will you miss the most, just being chief of police?
You know what? I'm going to miss the people in Peoria, because I'll be relocating, and at some point, not no time immediately, but there'll be a relocation. The people. I've made some great friendships in Peoria. There's some great people on my team that I'm going to miss. And there might be some people I really am not going to miss. But there's some great people in this police department that I'm definitely going to miss. And there's people in this community that I have some long-term relationship with. Those that know Lagret at the camera know. They got my personal number.
Right. And looking back, is there anything you would have done differently during your time as chief?
No. You know, I don't live with regrets, and I try. Everything I think is our learned lessons, and you one of the things that I've always lived by, and I said this to somebody else, is you improvise and you adapt and overcome. So every Marine that's listening knows what that means, and you take those challenges and you say, okay, we need to pivot this way now, or we need to pivot another way. But I've always led with my heart, and the decisions I've made, and I'm good with those decisions. I don't I try not to make immediate decisions. And so decisions that I've had to make, for the most part, I've had to sit down, think about. I think the only one real decision that I made recently that I had to suddenly make is when I heard the juveniles chasing our squad cars, and I got on the radio and said something. I didn't have too much time to think about that one. A decision had to be made, and somebody had to make the decision, and I heard what was happening, and I made the decision. And so, no, I don't live with regrets, and I don't live thinking I could have done this or that. We pivot, we move, there's a team, we talk about it, and we figure out what the next strategy is.
Right, and I guess during your time as chief, how did you measure, whether trust between the community and the Peoria Police Department was actually improving?
I think you see it. You see it when you see the numbers are going down. You see it when you can walk out, and I get stopped all the time by people in the community, and all I hear from them is the change that they've seen and they've heard. And so that for me is what I see. And I walked into a store the other day. Two things happened this week where often doesn't happen to a police officer. I walked into a place and this young man yells, "Hey, Chief." I said, "Man, I'm just trying, I got to pick something up." He goes, "Well, you deserve this for everything you've done here, and your officers do." And when you hear the different demographics, this different age group, this different, really embrace what they're seeing that's happening in the police department, that tells you that we're on the right step and we're doing that. There's still more work to do. There's still more work to do. There's always going to be work to do. Again, it's police, and people.
Right.
Last question.
Okay. My last question for you is, how do you respond to criticism about your time as chief, about your policing practices, or what changes did you implement because of it?
I don't respond. I don't respond. If I was to respond to every criticism, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time, and I hope the next chief understands that. You do your job, you do it with integrity, you do it with heart, you do it with love. You go to make the best decisions that you can, think them out, and do it. There's always going to be criticism. You can't live your life worried about the disgruntled employee that wants to criticize, somebody that doesn't agree and wants to criticize. I'm 52 years old. I ain't worried about somebody criticizing. We move on and we continue to do the job. I'll let the public speak for what they thought and what they seen, and I think overall, our community in Peoria is happy with what they saw, and I'm satisfied with that.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
For the interview.